Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Your Soul Wisdom. We are here for part 2 with our lovely time with Solreta Antaria. Solreta, if you haven't seen part 1, go see part 1 and come back here. Solreta is a clairvoyant, an ET UFO experiencer, a psychic tarot reader, and literally a million things more magical than even that sounds. So I just want to get right into it, okay? Solreta, this episode is really talking about all the beautiful information that you shared in a recent hypnosis session that you experienced. And I made like a whole list of things that I want to get into. But I guess my first question is, I guess where I want to begin is 2 places. One, can you set up that stage when you're put under hypnosis? Obviously, what was his name?
Yeah, Jacob Ray hypnosis.
Okay. So he does his whole thing where he puts you under that hypnosis, right? But then what I want to know first is what happens then for you to get to that place where you connect and now you're channeling information, but also outside of that, now that you're outside of that, can you still tap into that information or getting more information or details out of it?
Yeah. So he goes through the induction stage, and we have put out the full hypnosis on YouTube as well as clipped up little shorter versions to give people a taste and to put a little bit of visual reference to it as well. So yeah, going through that induction experience, I've studied a bit of hypnosis myself too, so I'm really good at getting into state. And for me, there's certain things, even like shuffling my tarot cards for me puts me into state. So there's certain little things that we can all do that help put us in that state where we're connected more to higher self. So I think it was that session, because I've done 2 sessions with him. He's become a really beautiful friend. He originally was a client of mine, and then we got to know each other a little bit more, as you do. And then, yeah, decided to do a session together. And we have another one we're filming coming up the end of this week. So we're doing another one. So we're taking in a few questions from the collective as well to see if there's anything bigger that we need to look into. So for me, being in that state, it's just the only way I can describe it is to close my eyes. And it's like you just sort of see and feel and experience like you're walking in a movie. So for me, it's just relaying the information that I'm experiencing and seeing. I do feel more comfortable not being in the earth realm, if that makes sense. So for me, when I'm connected, I feel more at home. So it's just kind of like going home is the way I would describe the feeling of it. But yeah, from a hypnotic level, you do usually go down certain levels of consciousness. And we now also work with a word that just sort of puts me more there instantaneously. And I don't always consciously remember when I come out of it. I might have like a little visual on something that stood out a little bit more, but he'll be like, oh, you said this and this and this. And even when I watch it, I still kind of go back into that state of hypnosis. So I don't consciously remember a lot of what we talk about in the session. So it's like, okay, I know we can talk about the oversoul part, or there was a pod part, but I don't remember all of it until we start talking. And then it's like the channeling just comes back.
Okay, perfect. Because there's a whole bunch of things I want to cover. And so I need you to get back into that
I
stage.
just trust that it's there.
Yeah. Okay, so we're jumping in, okay? Because that hypnosis, and by the way, everyone listening, the link for that specific hypnosis will be below so you can watch it and kind of circle back to this. One of the very first things that you spoke about was about planets playing chords and keys like music to help awaken us. And then you said they share a frequency, and Pluto is a key factor. It's a transformative, and it's like the transformative and sneaky, barely made a team player here to win the game. And it's encouraging people to become teachers and healers. And so I find that so fascinating because, again, it ties into our soul contract work and the frequencies, right? But it's very much for us, it is Aleph in the Hebrew alphabet, right? That we talk about. This is that healer energy. It's Archangel Michael's what it also brings in.
Oh,
But
okay. Yeah.
Pluto, it is that transformative energy. And so what's so interesting is you share how Pluto has such a huge role, but in today's day and age, how many years ago did they go, oh, you know what? Pluto is not even a real planet. Pluto is a dwarf planet, and they tried to take it out to remove its magnificence and its importance within our solar system. And I find that so amazing because, of course, you would remove the planet that is the biggest player in helping bring in that healing, that transformation, right? Like everybody else is like we're on the same page.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, of course
I'm
you
on the
would.
page.
Hey, but at the same time, if we're going to get into the vibration of the numbers, you know, when you try to pull the one apart, it gets stronger and harder, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this supposed push of Pluto out of things is actually also what has sped up
Brought it back
the
in.
integration and the transmutation that it causes.
Yeah.
Well, right. And so with the planets playing their own giving off their own frequency, playing their own melody, if you will, what's happening is, according to your hypnosis, was that each person then receives that unique harmony specific to them. And so they then go out and play their own song to essentially shift the vibration and healing energy for everybody else.
Yeah, it's like, I guess they've got all of those codes and those symphonies that are playing within them on a soul level. And when you think about we're interacting, you know, your song's playing, my song's playing, and then you get together, all of these collective harmonies playing together when we're in groups like this. It's just beautiful because there's so many different waves and octaves being transmitted. But it's also at the same time why other people are healing to us. So say, for example, we might be missing a certain chord or a certain song or harmony. And I've done another show actually to do with voice imprinting. And it talks about there's certain machines and computers and things that can actually listen to samples of your voice. And it will tell you health-wise, like say if you're more prone to cancer or you've got like liver disease, you'll actually hear it as a disharmony or a missing tone within your vibration. And so you can pop that tone or vibration in and, you know, things all of a sudden on a health level start to disappear. So if we think about, you know, different people showing up in yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Amanda
just that was
Yana,
something I just thought of
Lauren-
then connected
Lauren
with
has
this.
Lauren has this equipment, this ability.
Well,
so if you want, then
I'm working with a bioresonance software, but it's not that the voice part isn't specifically health related. But yeah, we can talk about that offline.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just by the
I'd
way.
love to ask more
It's
about
more,
that.
yeah, the voice one is more emotionally related. So it will, it scans all of the notes in the octaves and sees which are the highest and which are the lowest and how to balance your emotions. And it produces frequency music to balance those emotions for you.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, with this particular
Lauren.
one, there was even a man that had, I think it's called elephantitis, you know, where you get all of the tumorous
swelling.
growths and things. And they started to play the tone or frequency that the person was missing. And I guess the abnormalities started to disappear. And the person started to get a life compared to what they had before.
So what is
Amazing.
this thing exactly? Because I
So
need
it's-
this.
Yeah, so I did a show on it called holographic voice imprinting. I don't remember the name of the actual device or the technology that they use, but you can send in voice samples and it tells you, you know, if you're low in vitamin C or it's such like a random different assortment of things that can pop up.
Oh God, I need those details.
Amanda, we'll do our research later.
We will.
Yeah.
I promise you, Amanda.
And then we'll do an
Lauren's got
episode on
all
it.
the stuff. Yeah.
And then Lauren, no, and then I'll speak to Lauren.
Okay. Our next really important thing that you shared, because we all know about ley lines, right? Or like different portals and different locations around the world that people will visit. And it's funny because even me, like I remember going to Cappadocia in Turkey. And I remember hearing that it's a huge portal and the energy healing is very healing and all this stuff. And I remember being like, oh, I'm with a group of women who don't believe in any of this. And so I need to undercover walk around, but really be paying attention to the energy, you know? But I really also didn't know what am I paying attention to, right? Because I was still like very like green in my journey. But what you shared was that our souls are drawn to these ley lines and these portal locations on Earth because it is a remembrance and activation that helps us fine tune our frequency and helps us awaken aspects of ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely not what, in my mind, I thought a ley line purpose was, or a portal purpose was. That's like insane in the most beautiful way.
Yeah, it was really beautiful seeing that come in. And the way I could describe it too, it's like, say if we've scattered or parts of our soul has hidden memories or codes, or even, for example, when we look into, and this is like a random segue, but look into places that are haunted, there's a vibrational kind of overlay or energy that gets imprinted in certain buildings. My partner's an antiques dealer, and we see that within, furniture and things too, that there'll be certain things hold certain frequency. So if we think about, say, we were existing in the days of ancient Egypt, and we're working in temples, and we've got a lot of work that we're doing, whether it's, working with the divine or sacred knowledge or a lot of activation type things. So when we go back to places like this, it's like we're able to access those points in time or those soul codes and those memories that may be imprinted physically or within embedded into the actual ley lines there. And sometimes we've hidden little crystals and things like that for ourselves, whether it's,
Yeah.
Lemurian seed crystals that have the records that are actually kept within them. So yeah, be on the lookout for certain crystals that call to you, because some of those will also be imprinted with memories.
That's so crazy.
I'm in my element right now.
Yeah, totally.
I have a question about a ley line, about the ley lines. Okay.
We have a lot of questions
Yeah.
about the ley
Okay.
line.
So
Go-
Yana, don't you change the subject.
I will no.
Okay. Okay. So I had a vision maybe, I don't know, 8 years ago, where I could see a grid in the skyline, especially at nighttime. And I was told that there was going to be 5 women. It wasn't you ladies at the time, okay? There were 5 women who were specialized in something, and they would find me. So I found 3 of them, but I never found 5. So at that point, I aborted the mission. But I was like, I still to this day cannot tap back into that grid. I can see it slightly, but I don't have access to the information that it holds anymore. Do you know anything about, have you heard of that or know anything about that?
Yeah. So even, experiencing having DMT in the past, and knowing other people that have done it as well, is they talk about seeing like a flower of life grid around, I guess you would call it the firmament, or around our reality. And even if we look into the Vedic story of creation of multiple worlds, there's a story of Krishna laying on his back and creating all of these lotus worlds. So if we think about us being in a lotus world, and there's sort of like I guess a grid that you could call. So it's a vibrational grid as well, where I guess all of our lessons and what we're experiencing down here in this world of duality is happening. But there's also people that can tap in to help to break the grid apart, or to, be able to reach things beyond our current 3D level of consciousness. So a lot of guides or a lot of ascended master energies, and some divine angelics too, can even come through from these higher realms through that grid. The other thing too with the grids, a lot of it, if we think about different ley lines, or we think about activation of portals and ley lines, the more work that we're doing to help raise the frequency and vibration of that, the more that it sort of disintegrates some of that grid. And some people describe it as a soul trap that's, keeping us down here. And sometimes it feels like that down here in the earth realm, that, we feel a little bit stuck, or it feels like that we wish to go other places. So yeah, there's a few different sorry, I've been talking all week in client sessions. But yeah, there's a few different stories that I've heard with the nets or with like grids and things. But it's interesting from an astrocartography point of view too, looking at astrology and ley lines and different places that we have, sometimes more emotional experiences or cataclysms happen in our lives, and other places where you come into meeting with certain souls and that. So I do feel some of that reflection in the grid above is linked to the grid below, because usually everything's holographic.
I'm going to jump in quickly. I'm sorry. It is a little bit off topic, but it just reminded me of something that I saw in meditation one day. So it was like I could see the earth, and I was like a blue bird thing. Don't know what I was, but I had beautiful blue feathers. And it was like I was taking care of a rainbow around the earth. This is not normal for me. I don't usually have visions and things like that, but you know, what is there such a thing as a rainbow? Like, what is that? Do you know anything about anything of that?
Yeah. What you're describing, like with that blue bird, I've heard other people refer to Gaia having a version of her called Blue Peace, and sometimes is seen like as blue bird kind of feathers, sometimes depicted with rainbows and things. So it sounds almost like
Oh.
there's a little bit of that energy maybe
Wow.
tied up into that too. But yeah, I always go back to the older stories or the older pictures, you know, where you see someone sticking their head through the firmament or through that starry realm, and it's usually connected with astrology pics that they talk about, that we live in a world that has the waters above. So maybe it's something to do with that. But I always think of it as like we're not just existing in a 3D state. There's many different subtle layers and vibrations, and you know, our consciousness isn't just fixed to this 3D state.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I want to move on to 2027. And so something that was shared in the hypnosis was that in 2027, duality will be broken down, which is the old program that keeps repeating. And while it has to happen inwardly, it cannot happen externally, right? Okay. And so my question with that is that exclusive to it? It's just a duality within our own thinking, our own belief system. It's not like externally we're going to be seeing like this old shift. The shift happens internally.
So I get shown more information when we start to touch into certain subjects or talk on it. So I can't remember what I said in the hypnosis session, and I think we might be exploring a little bit more in depth on that when we film on Friday too. So I'll definitely let you know if something more comes. But when you were just saying that question, what I started to see was it's more that we're remembering the God and Goddess creator aspect within ourselves individually. So it's like in coming into that actualization, it starts to fragment and break up our conceptual view on reality. So it is coming from internal first, but it is also going to be breaking down some of the 3D boundaries and borders. And also, I would say we're going to notice it more from an authoritarian point of view, that people won't let others sort of have authority over them as much as what we see currently. So it'll be people more choosing, or kind of almost like waking up from a slumber or a sleep and going, you know what? Maybe I might have given away my rights or permission in the past, but I'm just getting like a weird deafening kind of pitch as we talk about that in my left ear. Yeah, there's sort of kind of like pulling me back on talking about a certain amount of things, because I feel like it's something that we're going to experience. But if we're looking for it, we're going to be looking outside rather than inside.
Totally.
Yeah.
So is this like a collective shift? Or yeah.
And of
No.
course, like the same as like what we saw over the whole lockdown period, different people are going to come into it at different times, and there will be those that sort of lag behind with that are still looking externally. But it's like when you see a whole mass of people that are all self-actualized or self-realized, and other people are looking for them to come and tell them that they, you know, have certain things, it's not going to make sense anymore to operate on that old program.
Well, and it's interesting because you in the session you dove into a lifetime that you had in Sirius, and so you did share that there was some kind of event, and you compared it, if I remember correctly, to 2020, where it's like there was some kind of shift or something, some big event that happened that externally, yeah, it appears like it's, you know, catastrophic or like not for the good of mankind, but really it is to awaken the masses, if you will. And I'm paraphrasing, but that was the sentiment to it. So I wonder if there's actually something that kind of, not a moment like that, but if it's just something where, because in 2020, we saw so many people like the curtain came up and they're like, yeah, no, this is not right. And it shifted so many people. But then I wonder if that's also just our own personal perception that then perpetuated the shift.
Yeah. From the vision that I get shown, it's like some people will come into the awakening from the dream world, and so they'll be transformed almost like overnight and more from a spiritual kind of evolution. Others will be like, the vision they're showing me is a grader. So, like if you're grading carrot, and it's almost like they'll have to get into a little bit of the painful sort of like situation where it feels like so close that they have to change. So
Yeah.
we'll see various different degrees, but it will be probably an external catalyst that wakes up majority of people. But a lot of people are already in that state and already starting to come into realizing that they're their own sovereign being, and that they actually do get to create their reality, and they do get to choose what they put their energy towards. So it's like voting with your energy would be another way of looking at it. So it's what you were saying before around, no, I'm not choosing that. This is like what I'm choosing. It's more getting into that decisiveness.
I love that.
So
in human
can I
design,
just
Yana, there's an event happening in 2027 that is changing us, as I understand it, Lauren. It's our solar plexus. There's something happening in our solar plexus, which is our
something's
emotional.
changing within the
mutating.
energetic construct of a human in
It's
2027
changing.
in
Yeah.
human design, which we're studying
Yeah.
at the moment. So we don't fully know
We're halfway through.
about it. We
halfway
are. But yeah, there's some sort of shift, and I can't remember when the last one happened, but there have been shifts in human
1681.
design with it. There you go.
So can I just throw in there that
I think.
I just think I want to be clear that 2020 wasn't designed that way.
No.
What happened was in a sense a surprise to let's just say them, because of what happened, of how we as human beings fought back, in the sense of
Correct.
we had that massive shift, we took it and we ran with it, we had this shift, and many of us had that awakening kind of thing, Bobby, but that was not their intentions.
Correct.
With 2020.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at it from, because there's two ways, and I definitely agree with what you're saying, Amanda, as well. So if we even go back to 2012, and a lot of a lot of the old books or a lot of the channel information was talking about that being like the wake up point.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the backyard with my kids here in Australia, and we set out a little crystal grid. So we had all these crystals lined up in a circle, all these little spheres. And we were just tuning in. We're like, oh, it's 2012. It's a magical day. The kids, we weren't sort of getting too much into the information. And we had a bee come in and literally make a cross touching on the 4 points of this crystal. We're just sitting there like mind blown watching this bee do that. And it just felt like a veil of that illusionary world start to dissolve. So I think when it came time to 2020, it was like, there was a huge distraction from the dark side of things and trying to shift or hijack our energy. But it was another portal of awakening. So I think it was December 2020. Myself and about 300 others went to Uluru, and we did a awakening ceremony. So my boyfriend at the time and his family have these sacred rocks, and I still do shows and chat with them. Stephen and Evan Strong, they talk about forgotten origins and our Australian archaeology side of things, talking about the true history connected to the original Aboriginal people here. And so we were working with these amazing rocks that were activating and opening a portal at Uluru. And it was funny because from March of that 2020 year, I kept seeing blue wisps that were like in that movie Brave. I think it's a Pixar or Disney movie that's like a blue sort of fairy type spirit or floaty flame that's in the forest. So anyway, I kept seeing that. And when people were talking to me in that year, if they were in their heart, a blue flame or a blue wisp would start to appear, or you walk in nature and you would see them. So when it came time to do this portal, everything was kind of dark and stormy. We're outside thinking, okay, if it rains, we're just going to be sitting in, outside in the rain up in Uluru. And I think they even locked down the rock. We couldn't even go near the rock at that particular point. That's how much like the dark side sort of wanted to stop things happening. Anyway, everyone tuned into their heart, tuned into these rocks. This big blue portal, and it's in photos, exactly the color of the blue wisp energy, opened. And it opened, you've got Kata Judah, which is the female also known as the Olgas. It's like beautiful mounds that are connected underground to Uluru. So there's a rock that goes between the two. For me, I'd always seen portal energy at Katajuda, and where this blue portal opened, that was a sign of that gateway and that connected consciousness, even opening much deeper for us, was probably closer to Katajuda, but still connected somewhat to Uluru. So we do get physical signs of portals opening and the shifts, but it's more on that subtle. But as we ramp up further and further, so 2012 was a little bit quieter, 2020 was a bit louder. So if we can imagine around time of 2027, we have to be aware of hijacking and things like that from the dark side, trying to distract us and look over here why this amazing portal is opening and we're coming into like a more expanded state of consciousness, or like the gold layer of the aura that we talked about, where our consciousness is actually shifting. And that's also, you know, with this new form of being human, we are activating our light bodies. So the more that we can meditate, the more that we can focus on really healthy, clean foods, and especially getting a lot more raw life force and biofield energy into our auras and upping that, we're pretty much building the bodies that we need for those times. Whereas if we're going to keep eating a lot of dense foods and we're going to keep, you know, watching news or anything, you know, it's going to keep the vibration a lot more dense, and it's going to be much more of a bit of a shock. And, you know, there is the version too of the two worlds, where people will be living purely still in more that 3D aspect, not connected to a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. And I've had examples of that, where walking past people that we know, and I've had this happen more than once, and you're like, hi. And it's like you're waving, like literally right in front of their face, and you're on a
And
totally
they don't
different.
see you.
Yeah, and I've seen it with other people doing the same, and they're like, they just didn't even, what is happening? So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more crazy things like that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow.
Something that you touched on after you covered this whole 2027 thing. You talked about something that really blew my mind a little bit, and it's because of the whole Hebrew alphabet. And so Hes, which is the number 8. So anybody who's listening, soul contract number 8. Okay. What you actually said, and this is how I connected the dots. You said that there are these star seeds that came into the physical body. They're a bit like flubber because they're not sure how to adjust into the body. They're very high frequency, and they're not anchored to the body. They're anchored more to the stars. And if they float, if their feet are not touching the ground, many of them, while some of them are meant to ground, many of them are actually not meant to ground. And what's so interesting is with this frequency, we talk about how it's ungrounded. It is a very high frequency energy. And you talk about how they feel alone. They're trying to find their tribe. And I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly Hess energy. This is the same exact thing that we talk about in our work. But the interesting that I really want to get into really quickly was how you mentioned some of these high frequency souls are actually not here to be grounded. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, which is the opposite to what we're taught in, you know, studying natural medicine, or, you know, we talk about Qigong or other different spiritual practices. So for me, I really resonated when I listened to that after as well, because whenever I've tried to ground when I was younger, sorry, Lyra's found her toy mouse. So whenever I would ground when I was younger, or like really be deeply, deeply anchored in the body, it doesn't feel too natural for me. It's more of an anchoring in the stars. And a lot of star seeds have come to bring that kind of light, that kind of frequency here to Earth.
Yeah.
It's like trying to tell them to change their brains, or, you know, it's a little bit more, a lot of the star seeds were more neurodivergent. And it's like trying to tell them to rewrite their brains, to rewrite those, you know, those neural pathways. And we're trying to tell them to do something that's just not who they are. So I think there's a difference. We do still need people that are grounded, and we still need people that are, you know, holding things down on a 3D level. But it's, if we can get them to work in unison or work as counterparts, it's like we get the whole picture, and we get to all of a sudden imagine, say, for example, this little amethyst crystal. is one of these beings that we talked about that's not grounded, and you have someone come in as sort of like a platform to almost like reach hand to hand. It's like the stars and the earth kind of touching. But for them to hold energy or to be on that earth vibration, it's quite a shock going through their nervous system or electrical system, or the biofield of the body of the aura.
Yeah. And so it's no
can I just-
coincidence. Wait. It's no coincidence that your cat chose this moment to be like, hey, notice me, because this energy is also very much connected to animals and to
Okay.
nature. And so
Yeah.
again,
We can see it popping out in the background now that it's daytime.
the way all these synchronicities happen, it's just so magical when you start to notice them. You're like, of course, that's how that would go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know.
I just wanted to add into that. Could that be also a reason why we've been seeing in the last, I don't know, few years, and it has been happening earlier though, but in the last, I don't know how many years, that children, that when they're walking, you have a lot of children, and I don't know if they're on the spectrum or not, but they walk on their tiptoes. They
Yeah.
don't, or they walk on the balls of their feet.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
I know once somebody in my family did, and they're like in their 20s now, but I've been noticing it more and more and more. Yet growing up, and even with, say, like with my kids, I never saw that. But they walk literally on the balls of their feet or on the tiptoes. You see them walking down the road, they're walking on the balls of their feet, as if they're just
Yeah.
not fully, I don't know, not fully grounded. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
thinking,
so-
is there any connection?
Yeah, definitely. So we see more ADHD, more autistic traits with, from a kinesiology and from looking at it from a chiropractic point of view too. So the gates inside your feet. So imagine these being the toes, and these are the bits, like the bones that are underneath the toes. I think we've got another fur baby on Rachel's camera too. So sometimes chiropractors will work with massaging these different points in here to kind of anchor and bring us back into body. So there's definitely, with the balls of the feet or
Wow.
walking that way, a lot of the time there's more neurodivergence that we see too. So we are definitely seeing a lot more of it. I'm seeing it over here in Australia as well. And sometimes you can correct it with things like leap, which is a type of kinesiology. You can start to balance, work with the brain, and make it a bit more comfortable for those beautiful souls to be in body. And it's not that you're changing them or detaching them from being anchored with the stars, but you're making sure that the physical body feels a little bit more comfortable for that soul to occupy. So this is like where the whole telepathy tape starts to step into, that we hear of. And, I've worked with gorgeous clients that are nonverbal. One of my beautiful clients, and I've shared this story before, who could only make dolphin and whale noises. He would stand there and just sort of waver back and forth, but most telepathic, incredible soul, telling me about a water feature that his grandma and mother were forgetting to turn on in his bedroom, saying he had a yellow balloon in his room. He's like, I've got a little dog. He's a terrier. He's white. His name's Charlie. And just this information was just coming in, but it was almost less effort than having to verbally communicate it. So I think they're doing things sort of from a higher level in some ways, but it still doesn't mean that it's not painful in a way to be trying to communicate from that level down. And the way I see it on a soul level is, imagine that you're trying to cram all this beautiful high frequency energy into this tiny little container, and it's not comfortable. And that's where we see that they get the tactile things, with the itches or the tags or certain food sensitivities. But if we can help their body to become less clogged and to do detoxes or heavy metal detoxes, this also helps the brain to sort of ease that fire that you can have within the brain too.
Thank you. Something else you shared on there was that each of us has an equal counterpart energy. And you spoke about this a little bit. I believe it was in our first episode. We have an equal counterpart energy that is our higher self that resides outside of our earth dimension, outside of the matrix and beyond the water dome, is what you shared. And so it says, if we can connect to this realm, there is a whole sea of information that we can receive. This is the aspect of us that is awake playing the game. The more we connect to the player outside, the more we connect to the player in the game, the more we can be the programmers that change things, but that this is not meant to be known. We're not meant to know how to encode within. It's meant to be more of a secret. And so this is very much that awakening energy, that remembering, oh no, I can shift the reality. I can shift what I control. I can shift how things play out for me. Yes.
Yeah. And so this comes back to the vision that Spirit's showing me now around that question. You know how we talked about with the planets and there being certain harmonies or certain frequencies that are coming. So if we can tune into the frequency of that counterpart part of us from beyond that veil or beyond those waters, and even just start to come into a harmonious kind of match within ourselves. So if we think about higher self being a version of that, but what I'm talking about, like with that counterpart energy, would more be the oversoul, which is like that diamond fractal and part of our higher self, if we think about it being a thread from that connected. And so when we talk about higher self, that's only like one aspect, whereas that counterpart energy would more be akin to like a whole kind of conglomerate of vibration. It's like where all of the information's kind of stored. And yeah, we all have access to this. And I do feel as the veil keeps continuing to get thinner and thinner, we're going to start to pick up and channel a lot more information through.
I love that. Okay. That's right. That's confirmation.
Yeah, I don't know what she's got in the kitchen, but she's having fun.
It's amazing. Okay. So one of my favorite things that you mentioned, and everyone else is going to know why, you get into lovemaking and the significance of it. Right. And I think intimacy is such an important part of your life, And so what was shared was that lovemaking conveys a higher emotional wave and energy that we wish to transmit. It's like having a bubble that we can encode certain frequencies. It's very ceremonial. This is how it's done off world. And it's also a coming of age ritual that shamans use on Earth. It activates soul missions within the other person. Oh, actually, it activates soul missions within them. So I don't know if them is the other person that you're being intimate with, or if it's both parties. And then it's like singing the codes of their soul's path and the keys to awakening that. I mean, how beautiful is that?
It sounds so poetic the way that you've just read it out as well. I really, it's so weird. It's like I'm hearing things for the first time, even though I've watched over it
Right.
more than once, that I've like edited different parts, and it's so hard to know what parts to edit to bring the smaller clips.
Right.
But yeah, there's a divine remembering and a divine awakening when you come into, I guess you're not just working from a physical, I don't want to be like too crass, but like masturbation point of view. It
Right.
really is like you're coming at it from higher level down and connecting all aspects. So just to give you an example of something that you can try at home that kind of opens into this portal of things is chakra connecting. So if you've got someone that you feel, you can be very open and trusting with, and they're not closed off to experiencing, heightened states of awareness, you can actually go in and I'll just pretend my hands are bodies right now. And for those that are listening to the podcast, imagine that root chakra of the body connecting base to base. And so you go through this process of just breathing together individually, sitting in front of each other in meditation, usually sitting up or cross-legged, just sort of sitting up across from each other. And so when you connect that root chakra, and then you wait a couple of moments, feel into the energy of those merging, and then you just connect like sacral, connecting into solar plexus, heart, throat, ajna, the third eye, and crown, and even beyond. And then you feel this beautiful bubble of light encase the two of you together in that divine harmony. You actually start to feel things within the other person. So you start to kind of swim around and swap bodies for a moment. It's the most bizarre thing. So that would be like a physical way I can kind of talk about experiment from a physical side. But then there's so much more that gets into it when you look at the spiritual side. And having actually done that practice myself, it's really interesting because sometimes the room will fade away, the 3D dissipates and goes, and sometimes you'll actually see each other in true form. So like it was described to me, looking at my the person I was working with, they saw me as this more kind of like ET, kind of like glowing light made up of stardust. And they were saying it's like I could sort of see through you. It's like you were this beautiful opalescence stardust type being. And it's funny because you can start to feel and hear the thoughts of this other person. So there is kind of like a divine union on that physical. But then if you touch into the higher realm side of things, and when you go through an experience like that, it stays with you for a couple of weeks. You can still feel that other person. They can still hear your thoughts. They can still like be so tuned in. Yeah, that's just the answer that Spirit's giving me to give to you guys to extend on that.
You know, and you know, I'm going to try that. Right. So, but what's interesting is I, at some point last year, had an experience in an intimate moment where I realized, oh, I realized I was being filled up by the universe. It wasn't just the act of intimacy. And all of a sudden that energy amplified so much. And it was like, okay, of course you're in that moment, you're thinking about all sorts of stuff. And I was like, oh, this is happening. Okay, what do I want to be filled up with? What do I want to birth? What do I want to create? And so the energy of that shifted. And like you said, how it stays with you, that stayed with me for a while. And so I always tell people who have, because we connect that to our 3 energy, which is Gemel, which is also Rachel's last name. It is the sexiest frequency of all the Hebrew letters, okay? And so I always tell people, tap into that creation. Tap into what do you want to be filled with in that moment of intimacy, whether it's you and your partner or you on your own. Tap into it. Are you applauding, Amanda? Are you like,
because I learned about that about 40 years ago.
Oh, why didn't you share it with me, Amanda?
But it's called, well, it's called like sexual magic.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's in that moment of, because that is a point of creation. So you insert what you are sort of like wanting or you're creating into that moment.
Yeah.
And it gets expanded into all the different frequencies. Yeah.
I love it.
And you can have an orgasm, you know, energetically in that
Right.
peak period as well.
Right.
So for me, when I first was shown this from Spirit, it was more when I was in college as well. So I've had a chance to be able to experiment, you know, with a couple of people now with this. And it's so mind-blowing because you're picking up and you can feel and see their thoughts and things too. And if you look into John Valo Melchizedek's work that he talks about in the Flower of Life books, he talks about these beautiful beings in ancient Egypt. I think it's Aya and Tia. Anyway, they're these 2 beings that on the physical, they have divine conception and they literally see this baby into reality coming in from a higher plane or dimension. And in that union, it actually makes them immortal. So the baby and the parents become immortal. So I think there's just so much that we don't know that we haven't tapped into around how to kind of work this cosmic suit just yet. I think we're kept into, we only use 10% of the brain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. There is so much. So much.
I'm
going to have to ask you more about your experiences off camera, Amanda, as well.
Yeah, totally. Total sausage session. Okay. Literally. I want to talk about one other thing. And then I want to jump into some of our members from the collective membership. They had a million questions, so I want to get to them. Okay. But something is really important. So we've talked about on the podcast before about turning left. And turning left for us signifies we're not going into the light. We're not going into this recreation cycle. We're done with this matrix. We're out of here. And while it may sound crazy, we feel it really strongly, right? So what you actually said in your session was that we cannot leave the matrix unattended. Now, I'm not saying nobody can leave. What I'm saying is we cannot leave the matrix unattended because the dark force can come in and completely hijack it. it really is a call to bring our higher selves back here rather than just abandoning the matrix. And so we sit here about being like, we're done, like we're not doing this anymore, like we're gonna go left. And here you
Amanda?
are, you mentioned something that's so important. Can't just leave it abandoned. You can't just leave it and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? So can we
Yeah.
into that a little bit?
Yeah. So even if we look into other lifetimes that a lot of us have conscious memories of, and meaning a lot of us in, those that are interested in this kind of topic we're talking about. So if we think about being in Mu, being in Atlantis, and being in Egypt, we were still trying to do the same thing all along. But it's just in this lifetime that we're in now, it's kind of more down to the wire. And there's a lot more of us that are doing it. Whereas, back in ancient Atlantis, it might not have been the great number that we have today.
Yeah.
It might not have been that 144 that you hear everyone talk about. So yeah, you can see why it's kind of like whether we're feeling like we're dragged here, kicking and screaming. A lot of us just would not miss this opportunity to come and get to actualize and do the activation, and not just on a grid level, but to like on a cell level, to be here for the celebration and the party that Earth is currently shifting through.
We're silent because we're waiting
Amanda,
for
we're giving you the floor now. We're giving you the floor.
And by the
How does
way,
that cause you to feel, Amanda?
well, to
Yeah.
give clarity, we actually had Amanda's sister here. The sister is a beautiful well, she
Psychic
does spirit
scribe.
art.
To the spirit art, yeah.
She's just yeah, I mean talent.
Mediumship.
Yes. And so when she was actually displaying her work and showing us how, how their parents came in, and we did get that confirmation that they went left. And so
Yeah. So I don't know if I said about that. I began to realize afterwards that I don't think it was actual left, but what I do think is that what my dad was saying, I think, was the fact that yes, there is something to what we are talking about. And so that's my thing. So I don't know if it is actually left, because we're always kind of joking about that kind of thing. We don't know, turn around. But I think the confirmation of that was the fact that you are onto something. There is some form of a journey that if you do take, you do go towards the light, that you are recycling back into another incarnation cycle on this earth. But I sometimes kind of see it as, I do know, and because of in my work, I do come across a lot of people that are, in a sense, let's just say angelics, or they're higher fixed, or literally starseeds from other places, and they do feel stuck here, almost as if they've come in many lifetimes to do a job. And let's just say there were 10 lifetimes ago that was when they made that decision to come in to help do whatever they need to do here. But this density that this planet is so dense that it's very hard to really conceptualize what it means to lose everything, to lose memory, and it's not that easy to regain your memory. It's a real hard, very, very conscious work to know that there's stuff that I'm not remembering, there's stuff that I've forgotten. And I'm not here just to do the everyday, you're born, you go through all of this type of stuff, and then you're dead. And then you go back and you keep coming back and you're doing that. And it's not about, for many of us, it's not about learning. And I say this all the time, and I don't know why it's such a big thing for me. I know this is what I'm supposed to impart. So I think what the thing is that I don't know if we're so much feeling like if we don't come back, it's a case of so I really get it, Solreta, when you said that about the fact that there is something that will soon to be celebrated, there is a happening here, but there are many souls that are just so damn tired, and the damage that gets done, and there is a lot of damage that can get done to the soul when you coming into this earth plane, and being locked into this earth plane, and the amount of imprinting that goes on, that when we do leave, there's so much that we have to sort of heal from. That is we can say that it is an illusion, but it's still imprinted on the soul. So I think that sometimes we want to go away and just do some work elsewhere, and just it's like take a holiday. Sometimes we need a holiday, and that holiday is, well, do you know what, when I pass, I'm going over to the Pleiades star system or some other star system. I'm going to take a holiday, and I'll meet you back here in
Never.
you know, yeah.
You know what? I've been really thinking about this because I really, and my numbers may indicate that a little bit. I feel like I might be in my last incarnation here. So while I do completely align with you, and I know that you're probably in your heart of heart know that this is your last incarnation here too, right? But there are others that aren't ready to kind of take that on board yet because they know they still have work to do. So
correct.
At the end of the day, it's almost like I wonder if there is anyone here who doesn't want to be here, wants to turn around or go left or whatever, but also knows that there's still their work to do, even if it means holding the fort down. And that's their pure reason for coming back. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, for me, that makes absolute sense. That makes absolute sense. I think because there are many of us doing different parts of the work. I always liken it to like working in sort of like you guys have probably heard me use that example. For me, I liken it to sort of like working in like a warehouse or one of those what they call workshops, whereby they're building a car and everybody has their different role. You've got different parts of the car to build. No one person is building the whole car. You've got the person that's doing, the wing mirrors, the person that's doing the wheel, this person that's doing the hub, the person that's doing the steering wheel, doing the handbrake. Everybody's doing their own jobs. And I always just say, for me, just do your job. Sometimes it's not about really focusing on the whole car. Just do your job so that when we come to get that part from you, your part's ready. You're not still there thinking, oh, I didn't know what this part was really going to do. So I was just kind of like waiting to see what was happening with the rest of the car. Do you know what I mean? Well, no, we're ready now for the wing mirrors and we can't go unless we get the wing mirrors, So I think everybody has a part to play. I think that we need to just focus on the parts that we do have and that we are supposed to put together. And so for me, I just think that there will come a time whereby I think that my part is played. And I may come back, but I will come back when things are just peachy. I'd love to come back with my husband, but I want to come back when it's just peachy. I just, because I need to see for me, and I'll be very honest with you, I need to see a significant jump in consciousness and of this planet, I think, in order for me to come back in again, because it's really hard, the density. And to gain back your memory. I'm 56 years old. Do you know what I mean? To gain back most of your memory and to be active enough and powerful enough and sovereign enough and in my body enough to do the work that it takes. You just wonder how much more you have, because we still haven't been able to lengthen, let's just say I go deeper, lengthen the telomeres or to extend life in such a way whereby 56 is nothing. 56 is a quarter of the time that I'm going to be here for. And that would be okay. But the way how Earth has locked it down now, 80 and you're out. That's the thing. So if we can lengthen that to 200, then hey, 56 is nothing. I could do it.
Okay.
I've got a lot to offer, but I don't know. Everybody's silent. So what?
Drop.
What are you saying?
My cat wants to meet the Solreta's cat, is all I can tell you. Hold down everything so she doesn't start flicking everything off.
Yeah, she's really vocal today. She's just next to me.
Meanwhile, my electricity over here is flickering, and I don't know if my screen went black, but my internet
for a moment.
You did pause a little bit. Yeah,
because it completely shut Zoom down, and I had to restart it back up again.
That's crazy.
That was quick.
Yeah.
I'm on a different timeline, apparently.
Yeah, so totally.
Okay,
Okay, let's get into some questions from the members in the collective. One of the first one was, how does one find out if they are part of the Christ bloodline or ascended master lines on Earth? Because that is something that you covered. I think you quickly went through it.
I can't remember like if I talked about it in the hypnosis because it's just But let's have a look into it with the cards. What Spirit's already showing me in connection to that, I'm seeing what looks to be like little, imagine like a little gold embroidery thread, and you've got part of that embroidered around the heart. So some of us will have like a stronger kind of embroidery thread, and others will have just sort of like a distant weave if they're connected with it. But it's more that our attention will be drawn to those stories, to those personalities. And when I talk about it with aura drawings and things, it comes up as gold and pink when I see someone connected to whether it's that soul consciousness. And if we talk about like Mary Magdalene energy existing in a higher dimensional frequency off Earth, a lot of souls that are from that same place. I always describe it like the Wonder Woman movie, where there's this beautiful kind of hidden realm of these amazing women that each have different talents and skills.
Yeah.
But you see them like go and volunteer to come down to into the earth realm. So I see this Mary Magdalene kind of Christ consciousness energy like that. So they see what's happening on earth, and they choose to seed or to come into the earth realm to hold this frequency or this unconditional love or this heart space energy. So even just like if what I'm saying is resonating to the listeners, it's a high chance that you would be from that sort of vibration or that energy. So I don't always think about it as it having to be like one individual. We might have had one individual show up and represent the story down here on earth, but it's more that they originated from a collective unified field. So I'll just pick a couple of cards to see if there's anything deeper that Spirit wants to talk about around this. And I'll flip these straight over. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. 10 of Cups. So with this, the rose is my symbol for Mary Magdalene energy. So we have this beautiful unconditional love that's about like the cup overfilling. We see that it's not one cup, even though I do have the Ace of Cups here as well. What we're talking about with this energy, this is more something in essence that you hold, like we talked about with the embroidery thread. It's about something that you hold, codes within you or light codes within the light body. So 10 of Cups is also wishes fulfilled. If we think about that in regards to the mission, we probably have more of those beings from that place in the earth realm right now because we are on that mission. We then have my card that's the shaman, the Prince of Cups. So he comes from two worlds. So we see him with the air and with the water. We see the blue lotus that he's holding, the medicine that he's bringing onto the planet, and this activated Kundalini energy over the heart chakra, the wisdom of the eagle on top of the crown. So he's someone who really has a foot in each world. So a lot of people that are resonating with that Christos, Christ consciousness energy, still have that ability to be able to tap back in to other aspects of where their soul comes from. And then we see this about actualizing it down here in this earth realm. So the more that you sort of resonate or feel an energy around this is about you switching it on. It's not about pondering in the mental mind, what do I do to, to switch it on? It's just about being it and letting that light really come in and express through you.
Beautiful. Thank you. My goodness. By the way, not to brag, but when I had my session, I was part of that Mary Magdalene living in the Wonder Woman. Yeah, see? Okay.
The pink and gold.
Not making it up.
Exactly.
So can I
was thinking
can I
that when
ask
we
a question about that picture? Is that a collective picture?
No, it's my
No, it's
picture.
Tiana's.
It's your picture.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
don't try and claim my stuff, Amanda.
That read that we were talking about, that was a collective one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that
All right.
picture was from my session.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I
all
ask a
right,
question?
okay. I
Does
thought I
Lauren
saw-
have that?
Yeah, because
I want to know if Lauren has it.
did Lauren
do
have
you
a
mean-
Do you
reading?
You mean
resonate
like
with it?
that energy that we were
With
talking
the
about?
Christ conscious? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, are you asking Lauren or me?
No, I was
Sorry.
asking you. Sorry, I wanted to know if
Oh,
like
and
I'm
we're
like,
in front of
this could be
world,
really embarrassing.
and I know.
A bit awkward.
Listen, it's always me on
Yeah,
the
no, she does. She has that beautiful
Do you-
divine feminine. And sometimes you even hear it within, not just like within like heart frequency, which is weird to talk about hearing heart frequency, but you can like our souls actually listen. So if we talk about the extension of physical senses, sometimes you can just hear something within someone's frequency, within their
Right.
voice. There's
Yeah.
like a heart tonal quality that comes through. And yeah,
Yeah.
Lauren just, she definitely has it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Knew it.
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
you.
Uh-huh.
And
Thank
me,
you.
and me, Laura.
And you
Yeah.
too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%,
Yeah,
because
thank you.
there's
It's
that
just-
scene energy that kind of runs through the whole Mary Magdalene, you know, the whole scenes, the whole ancient schools of knowledge, which was what it was all about. And that's where Jesus actually came from. You know, I mean, that's where he was actually raised and trained, in those ancient schools of knowledge, and it was run by the women.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the knowledge. It's so interesting because we talk about books and things being burned and libraries, and they're trying to eradicate this knowledge. This is knowledge that we hold within that heart's flame.
We hold
So
the
it's knowledge
codes.
that we can still see. We've never lost that connection or that
No, yeah.
consciousness still there to be able to tap back into. And yeah, imagine going back to those old days, into those schools. It just would be magic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got a bunch of questions about the 144. And so 144,000. So before I ask the question, can you just give us like a really quick explanation of what that actually is?
Yeah. So you hear people, I mean, it's a widely talked about term in terms of there's meant to be 144,000 that are here to hold, whether it's like certain light or they're here to hold the frequency or heart level to a certain level of consciousness in order for us to, one, activate into a higher state of consciousness in the earth realm and for that to be transformative. But it's also to hold the frequency so that we can't get pulled into the dark side agenda too. So a lot of people, I remember saying in the hypnosis, a lot of people that are claiming to be the 144 are more coming from the egoic sense and are not always genuinely the people that are sort of more, I guess, not broadcasting it out to the world. It's more kind of like the quieter ones that are, working away. And you see it through like their heart tone and through the purity. They just have that spirit saying the word je ne sais quoi that comes through from more that soul level. So they're a little bit quieter about it compared to, people that are sort of broadcasting. But yeah, I haven't looked into it further apart from like what had come up on the show.
Right. And so the question that was asked was, do all 144 need to awaken to activate their star codes in order for them to complete their mission? Or is it like one awakens, or just being in the presence of creates this ripple effect?
Yeah, I feel like it's that they're keys. The vision spirit showing me right now, I'm seeing what looks to be it's an emerald colored circle, and I'm seeing it with like 4 quarters or like four sort of sections. And what I'm seeing is like these little keys coming in. Let me use this example because this is kind of, I guess, similar. So this little piece of fluorite, if we imagine that to be a circle with all of these quarters, and I'm seeing keys kind of like evenly distributed across those quarters. And I feel like what they're showing me, the quarters represent different sectors of our earth realm.
Yeah.
And so they're showing me it's that we need these keys to come in. But when the keys remember how to like actualize, that's when we get the moment where all the engines turn on. So it's like they're holding the codes and frequencies, but it's like when they're able to, connect to their own higher self and their own consciousness and switch that key on, it does start like a compound domino effect that switches on all of the knowledge and remembering. It's like, oh, I forgot, that's right, I can actually switch it on or turn it. So they're giving me the word self-governance with this as well. So there is, I guess, everyone on their own timeline with this. It's not that we can sort of go in and say, oh, this is how you do it. It's like everyone remembers and does things within their own soul's codes timeline.
Correct. And like would you say that it's not that you remember or that you know that you're one of the, say, 144, but it's more that you know and remember that you're part of something that has to happen, and that you are waking up into your own sort of space, your own knowledge and your own memory, and you know that you've got to do this, and you've got to do this, and that person has to do this, that everybody has this part has this part to play. And once it does happen, like you said, everything begins to click into place. That's what I'm saying. Then in a sense, the car works. Do you know what I mean? And then it tips the scales, it tips the balance. And then what it does is that it opens up into a frequency so that everybody has the ability to step up into that frequency if they choose. Not everybody will choose that, but we kind of open up that portal, that space, in order for it to happen. So, you know, I don't know if we know or remember that, well, I'm part of this 144, or I'm one of the 144. That doesn't mean, it's not that it doesn't mean anything to me. The title or the label doesn't mean anything,
right,
because of what's the work is involved. And do you know what I mean? And the knowing that there's work to be done. Do you know what I mean? That we've got to raise our game.
Yeah. And even just, in meditation, just connecting out to because that vision they're giving me of those little golden keys, it's like each little top part of the key has a different pattern or signature. So I don't feel like that, everyone's sort of like a carbon copy of being exactly. It really feels that there's individual, unique souls. But I do keep getting shown that it's like we can actually meditate and feel into the vibration of all of those. What I hear and feel as I tap into it as well is a lot of them feeling alone, or feeling like that people don't understand them.
Right.
A lot of feeling just a disconnect, or a feeling of being dropped off down here. So there really is that longing for home, or longing from the stars. It's within those individual souls. It's an interesting thing to look into.
Okay, 8 energy all day long.
Gonna say
Eight
that
energy.
8 energy, and also the 5s. It's also the 5s.
Listen, I'm gonna brag here for a second, okay? I've got an 8-8 soul destiny daughter, and an 8-8 soul destiny ex-husband. So I feel that energy, and I've got karmic 8s. Like I feel it. Anyway, I'm bragging about my. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to move past this 144 yet, because there's actually some really good questions. Is there any information on, have the 144, like, is there like a certain level that they've progressed? Are they all activated? Are they all like on Earth right now?
Yeah, so the energy that I'm getting shown around this, it's like they're spiritual instigators or spiritual midwives as well. So some of them are here to also connect with nature, to connect with earth, to go to sacred spaces. It's like their soul feels called to be at, whether we call it different ley lines or portals or vortexes. So I do feel that there's, I don't know, I've never looked into the side of like, are they all here now? My feeling is yes, that they are, because they have to be of a certain age when certain things are to go down or happen. I'll just have a look into the cards and see if there's anything else to have a look in around this.
Yeah, and what's that age?
I'm just seeing like a multitude. Some of them are in their 80s.
Yeah, I think.
I agree with that. Wouldn't there be some sort of cycle as well? Like I've heard of this 144 thing as well.
Yeah.
But I've just always assumed people are still dying and people are still getting born, and that 144 has got some changes on the ends. And hasn't this been going on for ages? I don't
know, because I think
as well.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Amanda, you go.
No. Sorry, please answer because it was sent out.
So even like, in Hopi prophecy, they talk about a certain group of beings that will come onto the earth. So they talk about different groups or different consciousness, and they talk about the rainbow energy as well coming back. So with this, it's more kind of to do with the rainbow light body. So if we think about things not being related to age or not being related to, sex
Yeah,
and things,
that's
it's more
yeah.
about the embodiment of a frequency. So we have rainbow
Yes.
and crystal children, we have indigo children, we
Yeah.
have the blue rays as well. And with the blue rays, a lot of them are a little bit more that midwife type energy, or here to kind of like help with the ascension process. But yeah, what I'm seeing with, in terms of like not thinking of age and that, it's more, I guess, not getting caught up on the logistics side of things. It's just a kind of more a soul knowing of knowing that they'll be here at this particular point in time.
At this particular point in time.
Yeah.
Right?
Whereas,
Yeah.
if we're looking at it from a movie point of view, or like how Hollywood might sell it, it might be, more kind of like, oh my God, that person's dying, we need to like bring someone new in. But it's like everything's already happened. So we're kind of looking back into a memory of a timeline that's coexisted within ours now. So all of the wisdom and things we're pulling on around this information is just because it's already happened. Yeah.
It's almost like getting to that. It's almost like getting to like that sweet spot. That it's sort of like that magic timing. It's like that sweet spot when everything just sinks, and it just becomes, and then from there, because I also do think that there's also a process of sort of there will be, this is how I felt it, or how I've seen it. There's a part of that, say like that 144, that they activate together at one point, and then by doing that they then activate the next levels for others that will then step into that energy of that activation, so of that 144. So say like if 50,000 did it at some point in time, so there's all these different stages of activating into that the 144 do wake up into, so they don't all do it bam at once. It's there are stages of them doing it, and then what's the word, culminates, I can never say that word. It culminates in that frequency change, and that's what it is. And that includes babies, toddlers, children, teenagers, adults, the elderly. Is all the different stages. It's not, say, a whole set of bunch of 56ers all saying we got it. It isn't. It's a whole range of human beings going into the process, and different groups saying, right, it's sort of like a relay race. We sort of hand the baton, and we hand the baton, and we hand the baton. That's what I've been told. That's what I've seen or felt. So
yeah, and even just as you're saying it, that vision that I had with the green circle, I see it's like the keys being connected. A hum comes on that engine, and it's like we're energetically starting to vibrate on a certain level. And we each have 144,000 petals in the crown chakra lotus as well. So I'm just seeing it's like that energy hits that vibration that activates, another layer or another group, and then another. So it's like this domino type effect of energy awakening. Yeah.
That's
and I've got the cards here. I'll flip the cards over and we'll see what we've got around that 144. So it's telling us the story to do with the other times where we had the cataclysmic things happen, Atlantis, and a lot of us knew something wasn't right, or there was plans being foiled and things of that sort of nature. We're at this point, though, where we do actually get to come, it's more about getting into alignment. Whereas before it might have been this fork in the road of, oh, we've got to join two ropes together and make it fit. We've got to like connect the power points to turn the lights on. Whereas now it's like, no, everything actually happens within divine timing and alignment. So we have a Two of Wands, which is that duality energy. That's sort of that crossroad point that we're at right now too. And it is about that story of the opposites down here in the earth realm. We then have Queen of Wands. So when we talk about the 144, it's that we're stepping into this fearlessness. And Queen of Wands, we see her with the acorn. So she has all of these psychic and spiritual senses activated. We see the light move through her, and she radiates this beautiful sun frequency. And the big cat with this one represents fear. And we see she's got her fear under her hand. It's under control. Whereas her previous incarnation, she's a princess of wands, which is someone who's like controlled by fear. The cat has the tail around the throat. She's holding this sunshine on the end of her wand, this light that's external to her. And she's like, I'm trying to bring this light in. I'm trying to get acknowledged. I'm trying to people please. Whereas in this lifetime, this incarnation with the 144, we're seeing them show up fully like embodied, a lot more fearless than perhaps other incarnations. We've got the card of adjustment, which this one has, I might not be pronouncing the Hebrew symbol, lamd, down here as well. I think it's the 12th letter.
Lamed.
Yeah, I think it's the 12th letter of the alphabet.
Yep.
But essentially, it's about bringing like these worlds into balance. And it's about that energy that we're starting to, get into this vibration of adjustment and alignment between the heavens and the earth, for like lack of a better term. We have the 8 of Cups. So a lot of what people need to do, I guess, before they get into the moment of switching the key on is to not let the Saturn energy with Pisces. So 8 of Cups is where we feel weighed down, we feel stuck. We're so kind of bogged down by the mental, emotional aspects of what it is to be in the human form, but we need to realign with the stars. We need to come into a divine remembering that we're not actually 100% human down here, that we're not living in this saga or this story, that we are actually divine beings that have come in from these higher realms and spaces to actually hold and unlock. So this is actually kind of like a key moment here with this. And we see the crocodile from ancient Egypt. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he's all about sort of protecting from the underworld. Then we see what I call the Choose Your Own Adventure card, which is just a bonus card in this deck. But it's about us actually choosing that timeline and choosing to anchor it. So it's not that the one way has to be the exact way.
Yeah.
If we think about the Choose Your Own Adventure books from when we're kids, I know we have them in Australia and possibly in the UK as well. But you choose to go either to the forest or, to the beach. It's like, it's an interesting story, but it's more about alignment and frequency and choosing to really kind of have that experience or that path that you want. So at the same time, these souls are not just here for, the starry alignment side of things. They are learning and they are actually kind of recording this human experience too, but it's to not get weighed down by that and disconnected, because that's what this card represents too. See how they're a little bit fractured and disconnected? They don't have all of the water. It's a bit heavy and murky and kind of almost lymphatic-y toxin water that we see. So it is about to reconnect to the divine and bring that in. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, let's do one more question before we wrap it up, because I feel like we've just had you working for like the last 3 hours.
And this might be
Can
a
I just
3-part series.
And can I just interrupt for 1 second, Yana? It'll take 1 second. But it is absolutely wild how you won't know this, Solreta, but there are just so many things that you have said that have just been part of your words, part of the story, that have such synchronicity. Like Kylie, just why it's fresh in my mind because I'm trying to remember them. I mean, going down and having the choice of the forest and the beach. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is all of your language in your meditations, but there's been
I was
so
thinking
many,
that.
but there's been so many of them. I would have been interrupting every 2 seconds, but I do want to acknowledge it. That, when I was talking to Lauren about my experience of watching your session with Yana. And like I watched, I don't know how many, it was 1 hour and 20 minutes, and about 1 hour 10, I was like, I'm tired, I have to go to bed now, sort of a thing. But please tell me if this woman says something new, because what you seem to have done with Yana is taken every single bit of information that we had ever heard or thought of and put it into one big sort of story with more, I don't know, texture,
vibrance,
light, vibrant, yes,
validation,
sort of thing. And I can't help thinking that this 2-part session for us has been a similar experience. Has it been for you guys as well?
Yeah,
absolutely. There have been many things.
So many things. It is like you are, like, if we're going to talk numbers, so 14-5, it's wild. one big
It's
reflector.
it's a very reflective energy. It's a
Yeah.
Scorpio in the air. It's very reflective, very
But
intense.
you're a mirror that picks up all the detail
Yeah.
of everything
Mm.
around everything. Like,
And I
it's
feel like 14
wild.
is very cosmic too, to me, as a
Mm.
cosmic consciousness.
Yeah, it's been an
Yes.
incredible experience to be in
That's
the
right. It
fields
is a
and
cosmic
feeling it
consciousness.
come back. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, Yana. Go on.
Well,
Last
no,
question.
that would have been
I
a
had
beautiful
my reading
way to wrap it
that
up too. But I do want to get one more question because I don't want to leave out. I mean, there's a million questions, but I just want to get this one in. The ley lines that we talked about, are they all directly connected to the Unity consciousness grid, or is it people that are drawn to them? It's because, you know, they have memories of Atlantis or Lemuria. Like, is it specific like that, or is it all that Unity consciousness?
Yeah, I'll have a look into the cards as well. And I just want to say how amazing my reading was that you did the other day too. And I'm still like going over everything. I was trying to read it to my partner and I'm like, and she said this and this. And it was just, it was literally, it was life-changing. Just the way that you had everything like written out. It was
Hear
amazing.
those words, Yana.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
For those who are just listening, I did do the heart over my head. Listen, to
No,
me,
I'm getting a yes.
it's
Oh,
very
sorry.
no, it's very obvious that it's a moment of synchronicity and alignment that we're able to give and receive this information, and it all resonates. That is pure alignment of, if you're questioning your journey, but then information shows up that validates everything that's showing up for you, trust that, be grateful, have that gratitude, and just be like, thank you, universe. How good could it get? Give me more.
Yeah.
And that's what this moment is. So I'm not going to cry.
Yeah.
That's what this moment is. Yeah.
So
Okay,
having
ley
a look into so with the ley lines, it does feel like it's connected within Unity consciousness. So what they're showing me is I'm seeing each of us as like little books within a library. So we think about Unity consciousness being the library, or having like access to, I would say it's sort of like human history or what we've walked in and experienced as souls down here. So not just on sort of like a knowledge bank level, but it's kind of experiences. There's a data bank of experiences as well. And when we come into the ley line side of things, different places are still holding those charges. So I'll flip the cards over. So, and we've got my alignment card. We've got that Wheel of Fortune card come back again. So Spirit sometimes will like to add on to things. So with us going and visiting, we're actually co-creating. So if we go and visit a ley line that we feel drawn to, or we fly to, you know, a destination point that we really, our soul is just calling for, it's to pick up and remember and reconnect. So the Lover's card is a card of, it's interesting because we've got dualities within there, but we've got that unity or God consciousness coming back with this. And with this card too, it also is sometimes about contracts or agreements, or, you know, parts of things coming together or new opportunities. We also have an activation card too. So we think about with our soul essence going and being back and having those memories or re-experiencing that energy, it's like a layer upon layer is built. And again, we've got Mary Magdalene energy in that rose right in the center. So this is Taurus and moon energy. So it's like, again, we're aligning the heavens with the earth. We then have the Wheel of Fortune. So again, just talking about getting into alignment with these ley lines, and then the Hierophant. So this is the person, usually like a high priest or a priestess, that brings and channels the messages down to be able to correspond or to give that to the people. So we're actually touching more the higher aspects and the memories and soul codes when we go to these places. But it's just taken a really long time because the Knight of Disc, you know, this is a really long journey. It's still, even on some level, a beginning, going to these different places and having the memories. So it doesn't look like a overnight sort of amazing kind of like, okay, the skies turn purple and we're just going to have fairies flying around everywhere now. It doesn't sort of feel like that. It feels like a slower kind of easing into this. And it's like, we're just going to drip, drip, drip a little bit, because that's kind of the energy of this card. But it definitely is all about getting into alignment. I'll just see if there's anything else that we need to know in order to activate this. We've got the Eight of Cups in reverse. So we have to let down and let go of emotional baggage as much as we can. And with that being Saturn and Pisces, it's like relinquishing control over it having to happen a certain way. We really need to tap more into what I would say is a Nine of Cups energy, which is Jupiter, growth, expansion, and Pisces. But we get the Ace of Wands with that as well. And again, a Five of Disc in reverse. So another card that represents worry. It represents sort of this energy of feeling stuck or kind of in this like plateau. And Ace of Wands is the one to go with. So it's almost like we're opening ourselves up to be instruments for the divine, but only for our best and highest good, not tapping into anything of a trickster or negative nature. And Ace of Wands, it's like taking that inspiration. So whether that feels like booking a trip to go to, whether it's, Avery or Stonehenge or, to the pyramids, places like this, or perhaps even to check out what's in your backyard. Because I know over here in Australia, we've got local sacred sites that are more kind of whispered about. And sometimes they appear to you in dreams. I had one sacred site here call me, and it just showed up as like a yellow, luminous looking pattern. And I'm like, that looks like a tree. And I heard this voice say, you need to go there. And I was down on the Mornington Peninsula here in Australia, which is like near the ocean. And the next morning after waking up, actually it was words given to me before going off to sleep. And I'm like, okay, remember. I woke up in the morning and heard Spirit say it's a cave. So then get onto Google and I'm like, Angel Cave was the name that Spirit was giving me. I type it in. It was a location 15 minutes from where I was staying. I get there. It's this beautiful cave that you can only access when the tide is out. So we walked along when the tide was out. I didn't go in. It was a men's sacred site area, is what I found out from a local friend who knows a little bit. I text her beforehand. I'm like, I don't know if this is a men's site, but I just want to check in. Anyway, it was the same exact yellow image, and it was the sulfur inside the cave looking like a tree. It was just crazy. You'll be guided to go to these points.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Any last thoughts, ladies, before we shut this down?
It's
My
been
brain
amazing.
stopped thinking half
My
an
brain
hour
can't
ago. Yeah.
comprehend all of this.
Yeah.
I have so many. Yeah, you're gonna have to come back for a third.
Yes, that's my
Pre-and
only
post.
thought.
Yeah.
I've had so
More
much fun
episodes.
with you ladies. It's just been like a reconnection and just feels like I've already known you.
Oh,
it's been really
beautiful.
gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
You're gonna have to, because you're gonna have to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to.
So Rita,
Thank
why
you.
don't you let our lovely listeners know where to find you and how they can work with you?
Yeah, so just heading on over to solreta.com. I'll have all my social media links there and YouTube and things. And that's where you can also book a session with me one-on-one, where we can dive in to have a look into all of these things for you. And I've also got Soul Alchemy Potions, which is my herbal tea company. And that's all based around manifestation. So we do shows on that too.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be thinking about this for quite a while, probably until we bring you back.
I've had so much fun. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for everyone
Thank you,
listening.
thank
If
you.
you're interested in the collective membership and booking a reading, a healing, a guided meditation session, a light body activation, or you simply want to say hello to Rachel, head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com. We love you. We appreciate you. And we thank you for allowing us to create this beautiful space. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everyone.